4 mounted horsemen. They were policemen. 3 were shot and died. The other one was shot and survived, and that was McIntyre. He was shot, and then he sort of hid in the bush, camped somewhere on his way to Mansfield, and that occurred. Well, actually the policemen were looking out for the bush rangers, Ned Kelly and his bush rangers. They were always looking out for him, hunting for him, and there was a big shootout, big siege. That happened right here. So yes, welcome to another episode of Trev's Bushland Adventures, and we're here at Stringy Bark Creek, and this is where the siege occurred. Now, I don't know exactly where it happened, but there is a loop walk which shows some information along the way. And so you'll remember my last adventure, it was at Glenrowan, and there was a siege at the hotel, Ann Jones Inn, and then after a while Ned was captured, and of course he was hung. So the siege here at Stringy Bark Creek was well before that. In 1878, that's when the siege occurred, 1878. And so we're going to check it out, and we'll see what we can find. Welcome to another episode. Here we go. Let's go check it out. Now, along this track, the Stringy Bark Creek siege track, I guess I would call it, you'll find numerous mine shafts. This is very much like where we went on our last couple of episodes ago at Chiltern Mount Pilot National Park, where there are gold mines. There are a lot of holes covered in. The same here. The bush rangers had a lot of involvement in gold rush and finding gold. And so this track will lead around the loop track, and you'll find there's will be some mine shafts very deep, dense in the bush. Some of them may be opened deep, so we've got to stick to the tracks. Anyway, we're going to see the point where Sergeant Kennedy, one of the policemen, and where he was shot. We're going to check that out. In 1978, October 31st, was a sad day for Sergeant Kennedy. He was shot in the chest and died. I'm not too sure which tree it was. Could have been that tree behind me, could be anywhere else. It happened here, right here. And so it's a sad loss of one of the policemen who was shot by the Kelly gang. Now this is known as the Kelly camp. This is where the Ned Kelly and his bushrangers camped here. Now I don't know exactly where. It could be in the bush out west a bit. It could very well be here. I don't know. So the story goes it was Joe Byrne, Steve Hart, Dan Kelly, who was Ned Kelly's brother, and Ned Kelly himself. They were the bushrangers. They were daring. And they eventually got captured. So until they got Ned Kelly down at Glenrowan after burning down the Ann Jones Inn, and then the siege happened in Glenrowan. That's where they shot him in the legs. So so this is the Kelly camp. So a little bit further down where we were before, of course, where Sergeant Kennedy was shot. So he was one of the policemen. So let's move on. So this is where they camped. So I'm just going to have something to eat. Camp here myself. Yeah. In this area, most likely 4 policemen mounted on horses came through here, right where I'm standing. Most likely. It's not exact, but that's what it says on the board. Most likely they would have tramped through here on their horses. And they were looking out for the Kellys after on horseback riding for 20 miles from Mansfield. And there were also other police from the Whitfield area, from the King Valley, Heedi area, and they were looking out for the Kellys, so everything had to be quiet. So this was the policemen were here. They could have congregated here when the other camp where we were the Kellys. Yeah, this is part of the Ned Kelly Bushrangers trail. Well, Constable McIntyre lived to tell the story of what happened, and everything was relayed to the Kellys. They were his mates. As an ex-convict, Lynch was his name, and that evening, so I think the Kellys and the bushrangers were working on the policemen. If they see any of them, bang. Now we're here at getting towards the end of our journey, and this area marks the since the day the tragedy of the siege occurred at Stringy Bark Creek. There's been a marked tree, it's all marked as a locator in some form. Now this tree that's behind me is the third tree to be marked to remember the events that occurred here. Over time, the police families of the police called each marked tree the police tree. The police tree. Others called them the bond tree, the B-R-O-N-D, the bond tree. I don't know why. Then others known as Lonigan tree, and commonly the Kelly tree. And that is right behind me. There is a little piece of metal embedded of Ned Kelly's helmet right in there. It marks the memory, in memory of the siege, of what happened. Now of course this is not the original tree, because the first tree I think it got burnt down. So there were 3 trees actually. So I'm not too sure it was the first one or the second one that got burnt down. I'm really not too sure. But this is the 3rd tree apparently. So all this here reminds as a memory of the Ned Kelly siege, of 4 policemen that were shot right here at Stringy Bark Creek. It was a moment. Now we're coming to the end of this episode, the Stringy Bark Creek Battle. I hope you enjoyed the history. It's somewhat only about, I think it's only about 12 kilometres from a little place called Tolmy. It's between Mansfield and the Whitlands. So we're firstly on the way to the Whitlands really. So I really enjoyed it. It was a good walk. It was a good 40-minute walk. So bring the kids, good history of the Ned Kellys, of what happened right here at Stringy Bark Creek. Now my next episode, we're going to a small town called Yea, Y-E-A, Yea. They have a wetlands there. So we're going to check that out. That'll be my next episode. I shall see you then. Now I'm going to have something to eat. Bye.